All right, so it's been about a week or 2 weeks now since Chucky's been out. It'll be 2 weeks on Tuesday. So with that much time, I think we're finally able to like kind of determine how strong or weak he is, and I think it's an interesting discussion because I've seen a lot of variation on which it is. Now, for this discussion, I am going to be taking out the idea of any perks. I have played him with no perks before, and it can be rough as it is on any killer, but I think it's a good demonstration as far as determining where he sits. So let's talk about the pros to Chucky the pros and cons before we get into any of the discussion of how strong he actually is. Pros: his chase is really good. His chase power is extremely good. His follow up is really good. If you combine it right, you can basically M1 someone and M2 them in the span of about 5 to 10 seconds. That's even without knowing any techs or any of the hugs. Just going in a straight line, doing a 90 turn, you can get a lot of downs pretty fast. Other pros is certain loops with Scamper, he basically gets a free hit. Not a lot of them, but some of them. He basically owns Shaq because of his size and the third-person camera, which brings us into the other pro, the third-person camera. It comes in way more handy than I think people realize it does. There's a lot of loops where he is actually the one in control a lot of the time because he knows exactly where you are, and there's a lot of loops where the survivors can't use their normal tactics of looking over a window for the killer, but Chucky is still there and still looking directly at you and knows which direction you're running to. The undetectable gives him a lot of free hits. The footfall, which is something I think doesn't get talked about enough, is a very good way to not only distract other players, but make sure other players are aware of your presence. What I mean by that is it's a way to kind of build paranoia around the map, because if the chase icon isn't going and the footfall starts, you have to be looking around for him. And he's so short and small and can hide around and stuff, you never know exactly where he's coming from. Then you hear the and then you're taking a damage hit. He's also really good in the sense that he can catch up, even if he doesn't get the slice and dice hit. The nerf they did to the recovery time, which I think was pretty much justified, didn't hurt it too much. You could still use it as a catch-up tool, which is fine, I think. Some of the cons: he doesn't really have like a good way to get around the map that doesn't involve getting rid of his power completely, which can hurt him. The cooldown can be often long when you need it on the hidey ho mode. There's a lot of times when you're like, I want to scamper this pallet, and then you realize your cooldown is only about 50%, and then you gotta do this dance of sitting there waiting. Then you gotta ask, is it better to just go for the breaking the pallet or going around? Oh, sorry, I had to yawn. So yeah, there's a lot of situations like that can be a little annoying. He has no inherent slowdown in his kit. That's another thing. It's probably going to bring him down a little bit. Now, you could argue, well, two of the best killers in the game, Blight and Nurse, don't have inherent slowdown. Well, they can also get around the map a lot faster than he can, and Nurse basically doesn't play the game. So, there's that. So, and then as far as his add-ons go, I think he's one of the least add-on dependent killers in the game. As much as I praise Rat Poison and the Iridescent Amulet and a lot of his other add-ons like the Screwdriver and the Hairspray, which we'll get into why that's good, or we've already gotten into why that's good, I should say. As much as they help, they do immensely and can bring a build fully together, they're not necessary, and I like to see that in a killer. There are some killers like Pyramid Head where I feel like the range add-ons are basically necessary a lot of the times when you're playing him, or Deathslinger used to with reload and kind of still is with the reload. So we'll just say the add-on changes are good. As far as perk synergies, and once again we're going to take perks out of the equation of the initial strength, but I do want to say perk synergy wise, Chucky can basically use anything. He's an M1, M2 stealth killer with on-demand stealth. So there really isn't a perk in the game he can't use effectively. There are some he uses better than others, obviously, but you can go for M1s, you can go for M2s, you can go for undetectable, you don't have to go for undetectable. Like, there's a lot of things with him that I think is great, as far as the combinations there. And a lot of them synergize pretty decently well with his add-ons, which is just always a nice bonus. So, as far as where he ranks in strength, I'm not going to do a tier list or anything. I might one day, but not today. I do want to say he's probably... I'm going to say top 5 in the game. I think he's probably the fifth. I think in order for me, once again, no tier list, but I think it would go Nurse, Blight, Spirit, Wesker, Chucky. And that could be recency bias, obviously, but I do think him and Wesker have definitely come into the game and changed it up in a good way, introducing a killer that can, you know, hang out with the tops, which is something we haven't had since Wesker, which has been kind of nice. Now, I'm always willing to hear what other people think if they don't think he's good, and this is also, like I said, a tier list, or not a tier list, but a judging of his strength, not a judging of his design balance or anything like that. I think that's a whole other discussion that we can get into. But strength-wise, yeah, I think he's definitely top 5, right at the bottom, right under Wesker, in my opinion. He has some problems, some inherent problems. But I think overall, as a package, he does so much so well. And the stuff that he does do well is really good for the game. As far as like strength-wise goes, that it just works out in his favor. In any case, guys, that's another video, Chucky video for today. You know, the like and subs and all this stuff. I haven't really been looking at stuff. I've been a little offline the past few days, but we are still streaming Chucky. I'm still playing him offline, which is always a good sign. Yeah, Twitch link below and all that stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Yeah, bye.